Hello students, welcome to my English class. Hope you are as right as rain. You know, if someone is as right as rain, then they feel healthy. So, hope all are as right as rain. Let's begin today's class with an activity. Identify the following great personalities. This picture is of the first woman judge of the Supreme Court of India. Can you guess who she is? She is Fatima Bibi. Second picture is of the first woman IPS officer of India. You might have seen her in the television or the newspapers. She is Kiran Bedi, the first woman IPS officer of India. This activity is given in your textbook, in your first page. Open it and write the names below the pictures. This picture is of the woman, first woman president of India. She is Pratibha Patil. Can you identify this image? She is the first governor, woman governor of India. She was also the freedom fighter and a great singer. She is none other than Sarojini Naidu. Here we have the picture of the first woman Prime Minister of India. Do you know who she is? She is Indira Gandhi. So, these are the women who have contributed to the growth of India. Let's move on to the next slide. Here today, we shall learn about another great woman, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. She has contributed to the freedom struggle of India and also has adorned the great positions at the national and international level. And this prose is her article, is an article written by her. She is one of Nehru's sister. The title of the lesson is The Best Advice I Ever Had, written by Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. Let's quickly know about her. The author, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit, was an Indian diplomat, politician, and a sister of India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. She was active in the Indian freedom movement and held high national and international positions. She was greatly influenced by Gandhiji and became identified with the struggle for independence. After India's independence, she entered the diplomatic service and became India's ambassador to the Soviet Union, United States, Mexico, Ireland, and Spain. This is about Vijayalakshmi Pandit, who was an Indian diplomat, politician. The lesson, The Best Advice I Ever Had, written by Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. The lesson is an article written by Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. She wrote it for the Reader's Digest magazine when she was the High Commissioner for India in the United Kingdom. In this lesson, Mrs. Pandit shares the following incidences of her life. First, she shares her deep sorrow at the loss of her husband. Second, advice given by Gandhiji. Third, her experience as the leader of Indian delegation to the United Nations and the practice of Gandhiji's advice in her home. The first few paragraphs, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit explains her mental status and how she takes the help of Gandhiji to overcome it. Let's begin. Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit was going through a period of anguish. Her belief in humanity was at low ebb. The death of her husband was followed by a lot of humiliating experiences in her life. She had participated in the freedom struggle along with men. As a widow without a son, neither she nor her two daughters were entitled to any share of the family property. She resented this galling position. She was also bitter towards her relatives who supported this antiquated law. Let's go back. What is the meaning of anguish? Anguish is extremely unhappy situation, excruciating situation. What is the meaning of this phrase, at low ebb? At low ebb is being low in spirit, being low in spirit. Humiliating is embarrassing situation. Entitled is to give somebody the right to have or right to do something. Resent is feel bitter about. Antiquated is outdated. In the first few paragraphs, Vijayalakshmi Pandit explains of her personal life. Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit resented her galling position. The galling position here is the hatred she had for her family members because she was going through a situation where she had lost her belief in humanity. Because one thing was that her husband had died, she was a widow. Even though she participated in the freedom struggle, she was not considered equal with men. She was not even given the share of the family property. This situation she resented. And so she was filled with anguish at the death of her husband as a widow. And the third thing is she was not given any share in the family property. Antiquated law is here the law which had only male heirs that had the right to family property. Only the male had the right to family property. Let's move to the next slide. At this time, she decided to meet Gandhiji before leaving for America to take part in a conference. Now, looking at her, Gandhiji asked her the question, "Have you made peace with your relatives?" "I have not quarreled with anyone," she replied. He smiled and said, "You will go and say goodbye because courtesy and decency demand this. Not even to please you will I go to those who wish to harm me," she declared. "No one can harm you except yourself," he said, still smiling. This conversation had an everlasting impact on Mrs. Pandit. At last, she decided to meet her relatives. The visit had a miraculous effect. She felt as if a great burden had been lifted. Now, Gandhiji, this is the advice given by Gandhiji. Now you know what was the mental condition of Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. She wanted to meet Gandhiji to say goodbye to him because he was considered the greatest soul of India, and she goes to meet him. Looking at her face, he comes to know that she was angry towards her relative, and he asks her a question, "Have you made peace with your relatives?" Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit goes to pay her respects to Gandhiji, and when he asks this question, "Have you made peace with your relatives?" she gets angry. She was amazed that Gandhiji took sides against her and was supporting her relatives. But he wanted to just guide her and tell her that nobody could harm her except herself. What is the meaning of this sentence? No one can harm you except yourself. Here, it means the bitterness in our heart will spoil both our physical and mental well-being. If we are bitter towards others, it not only spoils our relationship with them, but also it spoils our mental peace of mind, mental well-being, our peace of mind. So he explains this with this statement, "No one can harm you except yourself." And he asks her to go and meet the relatives so that she can have a clear heart and a peaceful mind before leaving India. So his words did not give her any peace of mind. She wanted to meet her relatives. She calls her cousin brother and she tells that she wants to meet them. And they happily welcome her. The visit had a miraculous effect. And a great burden was lifted from her heart. She felt a glow of contentment. She felt a glow of contentment and she leaves for America. Now, the second incident occurred in New York. Mrs. Pandit went to New York as the leader of the Indian delegation to the United Nations. In the meeting, she had to handle a challenging situation. It was India's complaint regarding the treatment of people of Indian origin. Harsh things were said by both the sides. Mrs. Pandit resented the manner in which the opponents made personal remarks, which was harmful to India's prestige. She struck back with the same tough words. There was a distressing duel of words. At this point, she remembered Gandhiji's advice. To him, means were more important than end. She thought of Gandhiji's advice and wondered whether he would approve of this behavior. She resolved not to make any personal remarks but steered the debate back on track. Let's go back. Here we have some new words like resented. Resented. What is the meaning of resent? Resent is feel bitter about. Another word here we have here duel. Duel is a kind of fight, duel, fight. Another word here is steered. She steered the debate back on track. It is to take the matter or to continue the matter. Let's go back again to the paragraph. I struck back with the same sharp weapon. Underline this word in your textbook. I struck back with the same sharp weapon. Who is I here? Can you tell me the answer? I is Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. Now, where did this occur? This occurred in United Nations. What was the position held by Mrs. Pandit? She was the leader of the Indian delegation. And now what was the complaint? What was the complaint about? The complaint was regarding the treatment of people of Indian origin. What was the weapon used by the speaker? The attack was verbal. Harsh words were spoken by the speaker when she was the leader of the Indian delegation. She supported the Indian delegation and she spoke against the members of South Africa. And the harsh things were said, and this led to a kind of sadness in her mind. There was kind of personal attacks, and the personal attacks were harmful to India's prestige. So Mrs. Gandhiji resented the manner of personal attacks against her country. Therefore, she felt the need to strike back with the same sharp weapon. So there was distressing fight of words. Now suddenly when this was happening, she remembered the advice of Gandhiji. And what was the advice? Can you recall the advice and underline it in your textbook? It is, no one can harm you except yourself. So she remembers this. What would Gandhiji say? Means are more important than end. What is the meaning of this? For Gandhiji, means are more important in the sense, what is the goal? How you try to achieve? What is the means you try to achieve your goal? It's not only the goal. Goal is end here. Goal is end. Goal. End means goal. Means is the how you are trying to, methods you use to attain that goal. Methods you use to attain that goal. So the satisfaction one gets in the end will not be genuine if you use the wrong means to attain the goal. If you want to have peace of mind, then you should have rightful goal to attain, rightful means to attain the goal. Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit, the next day she lifted the debate to where it belonged. The debate. What was the debate about? about the complaint regarding the treatment of the people of Indian origin. Why did Pandit stop the personal attack? Because she felt that it was like attacking the other party is a personal attack, and she remembered Gandhiji's advice, and she understood that this would not be approved by Gandhiji, so she goes back to questionable tactics. She resolved not to make any personal remarks, but steered the debate back to track. Steered is to take control of the situation and influence the way in which it develops. Steered is to take control of the situation and influence the way in which it develops. I hope you understood this paragraph. Now, next day, after this matter was closed, before leaving the committee room on the last day, she went to speak to the leader of the opposing delegation and asked for apology for harsh words used during the debate. The leader of the opposing delegation responded warmly that there was no complaint at all. When he responded warmly, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit felt at ease at this reply. It was good to feel right with him, but even better to feel right with herself. The next incident occurred in United Kingdom. She had invited the Prime Minister of Great Britain and Lady Eden for dinner. She had planned everything meticulously, from the menu to the color scheme of the flowers and candles. You can see here the picture of the drawing room. She had planned everything well. Now, after the guest arrived, the drinks were served twice. Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit signaled the butler to announce the dinner, but to her surprise, drinks were served for the third time. She went to the kitchen. Now, what is meticulously? Meticulously is carefully planned. You know, this happened, and the introduction to this paragraph is Gandhiji, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit tells us that she had invited the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and to her surprise, she did not get the correct response from the cook. And when she went to the kitchen, she was presented a shocking sight. In a corner stood a frightened little kitchen maid. In another, the housekeeper. Now, the cook was sitting on the table, waving the ladle and singing, beating time with his foot. His eyes were glazed and he was far away in some other sphere. The table was littered with pieces of chicken. Her knees felt too weak to support herself, but she asked in a normal voice, "Why isn't the dinner ready?" The reply of the cook was, "But it is ready, madam. All ready. Everybody sit down, sit down, sit down." Mrs. Pandit felt like dismissing him instantly. But she thought of Gandhiji's counsel. If she lost control, she would only hurt herself. So she decided to follow the advice of Gandhiji. No one can harm yourself. No one can harm you except yourself. In a soothing voice, she ordered the cook to serve something on the table. The cook was in inebriated or intoxicated state. He was drunk and he was nothing was ready for the table. So instead of getting angry looking at the drunk cook or the head servant, she controls herself. She feels like chasing him away or firing him or sending him out of the kitchen, but she controls herself. And in a soothing voice, she orders the cook to serve something on the table. She commands him. So the food was served, but it wasn't quite what the menu described. But when she told the guests what had happened, there was a chorus of surprise. She explained the situation in the kitchen and everybody laughs, and they say that if he served such tasty dinner when he was drunk, what must he provide when sober? Just imagine what an excellent cook he was. Sober here is when he was straight or not drunk. So the second time the Gandhiji's advice saved Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit. This is the second time. This is the third time, isn't it, children? This is the third time. Which is the second incident? Second incident occurred in Great Britain. Now, at the end of the lesson, Vijayalakshmi Pandit tells that to retain a sense of proportion is as important as being able to keep one's heart free from hatred. No matter what our work, the advice Gandhiji gave is meaningful. No one can harm you but yourself. To maintain our peace of mind, to maintain contentment, or to have mind free from despise, we must remember that no one can harm us, but it is ourselves. Let's go to the few new words which are given in the glossary. You can read these new words. I'll just read the words. You understand the meaning. Anguish, at low ebb, humiliating, resent, galling, antiquated, courtesy, inflict, gesture, jewel, retaliate, perspective, meticulously, glazed, hysterical, the pivot of existence. Use the dictionary to find out the meanings. I have given the meanings here. You can read them and learn the meanings. These words will help you to improve your vocabulary. These are the best words. You can remember them and use them in your vocabulary or your daily communication. Learn the spellings also. I have a thought for you based on the moral of the lesson. The moral of the lesson is no one can harm you except yourself. There is another, means are as important as the end, and I have found out one more, that is for your life. The past is behind, learn from it. The future is ahead, prepare for it. The present is here, live it. It is by Thomas S. Monson. Hope it is useful for your life. And read the lesson once again and enjoy and take the moral. Thank you, students. Thank you and have a wonderful day, wonderful future.